Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. In this video, I go through the Squadron 42 monthly report. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys for all the support, allowing me to do what I do. If you do enjoy my content, all the links are provided below. Also, courtesy of the Doctor, one of my channel members, we do have an RSI Mantis standalone ship to give away. All you've got to do is subscribe here on YouTube and comment below with what you're excited for in 3.10. So kicking off with combat AI. Now the focus this month was on the Vanduul behaviour, specifically melee attacks. They're using the same code as players to ensure that the NPCs are able to behave in the same ways, but for the Vanduul they have to be a bit more specific attack animations that can be chained together to close distances and apply pressure to the player or its adversary. I am so excited to be taking on the Vanduul. It is going to be quite scary, I'm sure, considering they're about 7 feet tall and they seem to be able to leap quite high and maybe even jump closer to you. Anyway, they've also tackled several aspects of realistic firing, which include reloads and finding sources of ammunition, as we've seen on Inside Star Citizen. It also meant that depending on the skill level of the NPC, this will determine whether the NPC pays attention to ammo count or not, with higher skilled NPCs managing their ammunition tactically, ensuring they have enough to make it to the place where they can replenish. They've also begun leveraging the usable system functionality of the bartender in combat scenarios. For example, an ammo box being nothing more than an item provider, similar to how a beer fridge would contain beers for the bartender. This, they say, allows NPCs to search for places in the world that can provide them with magazines of specific types. Now, I'm very excited to see the AI develop further and see how challenging they can actually be. This goes back to when a lot of people were complaining as to why are they just focusing on a bartender. It isn't specifically so they can get drinks in-game, it is because it applies to every NPC vendor in the verse. Finally, for combat AI, time was also spent completing tasks for server meshing implementation. So it sounds like they're prepping maybe subsumption for server meshing. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, I wonder. On to social AI, the team focused on the first pass of 2 new scenarios, bridge crew behaviours and capital ship hangar crews. For the bridge crew, this allows NPCs to handle the required work of a capital ship, scheduling NPCs' particular roles, which then helps the generic behaviour select the right seats and routines they have to perform. The captain, they said, will also roam the bridge and supervise other members of the crew. For the hangar crew behaviour, this represents a set of behaviours for all NPCs that work in the hangar, including the overseer, the fueler, ordnance, the mechanic, the grunt, and the air traffic controller. In this instance, the ship is an example of a compound usable that can contain the functionality of other single usables. So basically, this means that every member of the team working on an appropriate usable, I guess, like the refueler using the fuel intake of a ship and the source of fuel that he uses to fill up the ship's tanks. They've also got a first iteration of the vendor nearing completion now. Patrons can order a drink, bring it to the table, and then return it to the counter. So on to general AI. Their global focus was on improving the various systems used by all the teams, many of which was for subsumption, which is this system Star Citizen uses to drive the AI. Very excited to see what this subsumption can achieve, actually. For animation, the team blocked out animations for various features and improved their ability to efficiently capture, select, and turn around motion capture. They also worked on knockbacks, staggers, and hit reactions from grenades and other thrown objects. Throwable updates are coming to 3.11, I believe, so this should play into that as well. The animation team worked on combat AI weapon reloads, reloading from locations, and the Vanduul locomotion. For social AI, the animation team also worked on lockers, smoking, crates, the bartender and bar patrons, and they worked out an issue with seated console metrics. So the character art team continued to work on the hair, with blonde hair making progress. They also revisited the bun style hairstyle, which appears on a large number of female characters, and the rest of the team are focused on refining the Vanduul. It says that they are tweaking and reskinning the Vanduul to achieve higher fidelity animations and making an update pass on all Vanduul armors. Once they complete the work on the Vanduul, they will then move on to the Jeanne, which the artists recently blocked out. I cannot wait to see the Jeanne walking around. With this being more Squadron 42 specific, it does sound like maybe the Jean will be present in the campaign, and of course it'll be cool when we see them sort of making their way through the verse alongside all the other races. For environment art, they progressed with several sections of the Javelin, including the new unique turret assets, which involved multiple firing modes that all need to have a degree of nimbleness, but feel heavy and weighty to use. They've progressed on 2 stations within the comms array that make up a large section of gameplay in the early parts of the campaign. Both required lighting polishes, which will continue as the new lighting features come on board, but they are otherwise complete. The mining station hangars were also finished and optimized. I believe this is the Acheron station. These multi-layered areas are the biggest hangars in the game and far bigger than anything we've seen in the PU. I would love to know what you think they're for personally. I think if it's a mining station, it's most likely going to be for maybe the RSI Orion. Let me know your thoughts. They also continued to work on 2 of the main hero locations visited throughout the campaign that feel very unique, unseen in the rest of the campaign. I wonder if this has something to do with the Vanduul, maybe their kingship, or maybe a system, if we jump through to a system. We'll have to wait and see. So the audio team's focus was on the Idris, giving it an updated ambience pass. They also rebalanced some of the weapons and vehicles unique to Squadron 42. Cinematics team continued on work as usual with scenes, animation and camera passes, but they also undertook research and development into new tech that will help push the internal design tools and narrative scenes. Other important tech was an auto-generated lighting rig, which is designed to help shine a more visually appealing light on characters. This is going to be used in scenes not playing in a fixed location where a lighting rig would usually be placed manually, more for improving minor scenes that don't require a full manual pass. For engineering, they made optimizations to the physics grids, physics instances and local oriented bounding box algorithms. Now I'm not sure what that last one is. Sounds pretty cool though. Also, I'm very happy to hear that they are optimizing the physics grids. This is what allows everything to move from, say, inside of a ship to inside of another ship, and then from that ship you take off into space and then you EVA out of that ship and so on. Making that smoother and more polished is definitely a good thing. Body dragging was also further polished and work continued on physical damage with focus on deformation. Ship-to-ship collision detection was tweaked to benefit stability and performance, and also ragdoll experiments were conducted. Numerous tasks were also completed for the Gen12 renderer, and for planetary atmospheres they completed a guided filter to denoise and upsample lower resolution ray marching results for in-scatter and transmittance, most likely just making the atmospheres look a little bit more realistic and pleasing to the eye. For gameplay story, they continued to support design with abandons and interrupts on Chapter 4 and work through new scenes from later in the game. These are just allowing you to break off from a conversation and having the AI react accordingly rather than just being like static robots. Current focus, they say, is on implementing the remaining 28 scenes, working out how the scenes will function and breaking down animation requirements. So for the graphics team, they continued to work on CPU performance improvements. They also continued to work on the Gen12 renderer and worked on Edge Highlight Silhouette feature to provide cleaner visuals that was requested by the vehicle team to improve the appearance of various UI. And finally, they changed how the culling system works for ships to allow them to be more visible at much greater distances, which will aid in gameplay. That's going to be quite interesting. The narrative team continued to refine the narrative experience, identifying areas where they can tweak or add dialogue to improve the gameplay experience and provide details and backstory for several companies and brands used across various environments to expand the world building. The team also helped to review progress on the Vanduul voices to help create their unique alien sounds. The QA team worked to investigate a few issues within certain chapters. Amongst other things, Tech Animation made progress with initiatives to overhaul the skin file setup and the physics proxy refactor, which is beginning to show results. The UI team worked closely with the vehicle team to implement the new targeting and turret UI. They also iterated on the bridge of the Aegis capital ships, including a warning screen. Concept artists created visual target videos for the Gladius HUD, including figuring out how to implement the upcoming 3D UI tech to break away from the standard flat screens Other work included scanning and how the lens and visor would look when they boot up. I cannot wait to see these various UI changes. Obviously we now have building blocks in 3.10, which just improves the functionality of the UI. It doesn't actually change the visual looks of them. We will eventually get more manufacturer styled UI. And if you've seen from the images, which I've probably shown already, the Gladius UI is looking very exciting. The current seems to be a bit boring and a bit outdated now, so it'll be great to get that new stuff in. Finally, the visual effects team continued to support the gas clouds with various settings, like making the clouds feel safe or dangerous, depending on the story requirements. They also continued researching destruction pipelines. Will be great seeing how various things fall apart due to maybe different damage types. And finally, they fleshed out the Vanduul tech style and weapon visuals, like this concept of the main Vanduul Kingship gun, which appears to be firing at the Idris. Very cool, but do remember it is a concept image, it isn't exactly how it will look. So that is it for the Squadron 42 roadmap update. Lots of juicy stuff in the works, and they seem to be progressing very well with each chapter. Really looking forward to this Squadron 42 video whenever it will arrive. I'm sure it will be worth the wait. Do let me know what your thoughts are. Make sure you subscribe. I will be covering the PU monthly report tomorrow, I expect. So tick that notification bell as well. That way you'll be notified when my videos go live. Like the video if you're excited for Squadron 42, and come and hang out with us over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers Ryan, where we will probably talk about this and the PU report in more depth. Thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.